Introducing the Poet Life Podcast. Go check it out today on your favorite platforms, including iTunes, Apple Music, and the website, thepoetlife.com.
Peace, everybody. What's going on? It's Poet Life Podcast, another episode of Season 2.
Yeah.
Myself, J. Rod D, my good brother, Christoph Jenkins. We are your co-hosts. Tonight, we have a special guest with us today. He's a hip-hop artist. He's an educator. He uses both to bring a message, but also to teach literary skill, writing, reading, when it comes to speaking, when it comes to creativity and artistic flavor on all aspects when it comes to that. Fun fact we'll get into later on in the episode, and there's some more things you may not know about him, is that he uses his work as a platform or program to go different places and present to children and show them all, similar to what the Poet Life Academy does.
Right.
It's kind of like it's teaching public speaking and just how to be confident in front of people. Without further ado, we have the good brother, Bomani Omar, also known as
Bomani Omar. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming through, sir.
It's a cool show y'all got here, man.
Man, thank you, man. I like your setup back there. You got the green screen.
Yeah, man.
You ready to go?
Man. I'm ready to go. I've been blessed. I get to, just hang out here in Baba Bomani's basement and make educational material for the students. And that's my 9 to 5. It's cool.
I love it. When did you start, man? When did you start? And let's start from the beginning, right? Like where did Bomani Omar get his start?
I've been doing like public speaking and performing like my entire life. I don't remember doing anything else. I come from a family of performers, of like ministers and church musicians.
Your father?
Yeah, my father's a minister. Yeah, so like my mom told me my earliest memories are me being in the pews thinking that he's talking directly to me and just having this conversation back and forth with him. And so I've always appreciated that skill. I've always appreciated the effect that it has on the crowd. And I think I've been finding, my entire 42 years of existence, trying to find out where I fit in as far as using that energy. You know what I'm saying? I love that energy. So I used to do a whole bunch of public speaking when I was younger. I was in like public, not public access, but educational television shows when I was in middle school. I was always in speech contests. I was always in the choir, playing the drums or the keyboard or singing the tenor section or something like that. Always playing in the church choirs. When I was in high school going into college, I wanted to be a full-time musician. While I was in college, I wanted to be a hip-hop artist, mostly as a producer. So I had like 2 different veins going on at once. I was a poet and I was a hip-hop producer, and I wasn't combining the 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? That took like a really long time. I don't know why in my head I wasn't putting the 2 of them together. I think at the beginning I wasn't I had words, but I didn't have flow. I realized that flow was something I could develop.
Got it.
So I developed flow. I was in a hip hop band in my college years called Louder, 420 Louder, and then Louder. And I was putting out my own music on the side, like doing mixtapes, doing whatever I wanted to do artistically. I was young, didn't have any kids. I was like,
right.
I was warning women I was dating at the time. I was like, look, I'm a full-time musician. Like if I get comfortable and have a family in a house, it's gonna come from me doing this. You know what I'm saying? And that means I might flop doing this.
Right.
But this is all I'm doing. I don't have a fallback plan. I remember when I was like 20, I saw this quote from Denzel Washington, and he said, everybody told him he needed to have a plan to fall back on. And he said, if I'm a fall forward. He's like, there's no fallback plan. He's like, so that's kind of where I was. And so then I got some success with some early internet viral hits, like read a book. I got a collaboration with my I still collaborate with him now, an artist, Melody and the Rados. I got some BET play off of them. And then, it was, being a conscious hip hop artist, I was expecting it to be a really hard, long toll. And it has been, but there's been some, really cool highs. But during, one of the lulls, I was like, as a part-time job, I got after school programs, teaching young people how to use hip hop. Basically, and I mean, it was really like, I think they paid me minimum wage, but they had a budget for equipment. So we set up a studio and fortunately, I went to school as an education major.
Okay.
And so I didn't finish as an education major, but I was taking that same idea, that insight, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I wish what I do now, this was a major. This was an option when I
Right.
was
Right.
18, 19. And so that's one of my big things now, is just making this an option for artists. You know
Love
what I'm saying? And finding out. I mean, I've been really fortunate. So, I started by working at Martha's Table in Washington, D.C., after school program, working with teens there. And one thing has led to another. It's been a big snowball thing. But I'm really now fortunate to be in the position that, like, I see other 18, 19, 20-year-olds in the same position I was. And I've been spending all this time figuring out, and I was about to say, I live in the state of Maryland, and young audiences in Maryland, and a whole bunch of organizations here about, the last recession, right before Obama was president, when budgets were cut, art was cut out most of the classrooms all over the country. Y'all remember how that happened?
Yeah.
And so the people in the state of Maryland got really creative with it. And it was like, yo, I mean, art is necessary regardless. It's a shame that our country thinks that art is, icing on the cake or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Garnish. It's great regardless. But the organizations I've started working with in Maryland were like, all right, if you're going to take art out of the classroom, we're going to put science in art. We're going to put math in art. We're going to put English in our art. And then we're going to bring the art to you that way. And that way you can check off your science box.
Got it.
Check off your English box. You can check off your history box. You know what I'm saying? So it all became about techniques of either putting those subjects into these art forms or finding those subjects in the art form already. And so they were like, yo, how can you break down hip hop? And so my brain just like,
let's go.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I'm blessed to be around a whole bunch of artists doing this with their instruments. You know what I'm saying? Like steel drum artists, you know what I'm saying? Blues guitarists, dancers. They're all like, yo, what's the physics of the steel drum? You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
What's the history of the steel drum? If you tell the history of the steel drum, you're telling the history of colonialism, of the triangular slave trade. You're teaching if you teach about how the steel is made, that type of stuff. So I was in circles of people like that.
Nice.
Who were breaking down their art forms like that. And it's like, oh, okay, let's go.
That's good.
So what's the history of hip hop? What's the math of hip hop? What's the science of hip hop? What's the physics of hip hop? You know what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff. And so it's been floating. It's been rolling. And then, I've been and then homeschooling my children was a huge step in it too.
Sure.
I have teenage boys now, but ever since they were 8, I've been homeschooling them. So, now when you make me sit down and think about it, I realize the long path
you had practice
that has gotten here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So, all right. Read a book. I'm sure a lot of people remember and recognize the title of the song, but don't necessarily know whose song that was. What was the inspiration for that song?
Actually, it was inspired by working with my students.
Got it.
So, I'm 42. So honestly, like by the time Little John was hot, like I'm just at the edge of being a young person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like I got Little John. I was into it because I'm into music. I love black people and rhythm and rhyme. But I was like, well, what's going on? I became one of them old people. Like, what's going on with the music? You know what I'm saying? So I'm forcing myself to listen to the music because I'm trying to stay in contact, in touch with my students. And I listen to Little John and I get it. I completely get it. Like I said at the beginning, I grew up in church. Give me a boom bap, and something repeated, and a whole bunch of black people saying "Hey," and it's on.
Right.
And so I completely understood the energy, but like what he was saying was literally all. And my man broke it down. To do a Little John song, all you got to do is be repetitive, be threatening, and don't rhyme. That was the essence of Little John. Think about it.
Right.
Think about it. Just pick some gully thing to say to somebody over and over again. I'ma jack you up. I'ma jack you up. Like, yo, so if that's the secret, why don't we just like apply that to anything? You know what I'm saying? So we just started saying other stuff, like, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a joke until one day I said READABO. Okay. I said, hold up. I think we could do something to this. So then I took Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, I put it over a crunk beat. I brought my students over from Martha's Table, and I
Really?
started with read a book, and then we just started yelling. Like I gave them the rules: repetitive. You got to be giving people directions, and you have to be threatening. And then we was like, all right, let's go. Like I got to go back and find my old file. Like there's 8 minutes of us just yelling stuff that like we thought, and yeah, it's just 8 minutes of me and a whole bunch of teenagers yelling into a mic about stuff that you should do. You know what I'm saying?
So to help artists out, how
Mhm.
did you get it to BET?
So I caught a moment, like, honestly, and this is to help artists out. Like, I caught a moment, and I think I was spoiled because I was younger, and I thought that was the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
Right.
can go your whole life and have a career and make money doing it, and never catch a moment where, like, with little to no effort, you get 6 million views on YouTube.
Right.
That's what happened to me. I caught the moment. I mean, it was definitely talent. It was definitely musicianship. It was definitely ear to the streets, and everybody just understood it. And so I put it on my MySpace page and like sat back. And
MySpace.
I put it on my MySpace page and sat back, and everything else happened on its own. BET contacted me. Like everybody was like, "Yo, this is hitting something." You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it took off on its own. And even to this day, like I've taken advantage of it. I don't think I never took full advantage of it. And I also at the time, like, and this is very crucial for me, and I'm glad like I took this stance and I've kind of recovered from it, but I also didn't want to be the read a book guy.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like I love poking fun at culture. I love doing parody. I love that, but I didn't want to be like, that's not the thing that I do. You know what I'm saying? I create Black art. And part of creating Black art sometimes is making fun of Black art or just parodying or highlighting a Black art. But I had like record labels coming like, yeah, I need something else like that. I need something else like that. I need like I'll do that when I do it. All my art's I'm not gonna be one of those conscious artists that his only conscious art is tearing down commercial art.
Got
you know
it.
what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm just gonna make the art that I like. But it put me in an interesting place. It paid my bills for a couple years. You know what I'm saying? It was it was a good place to be. But honestly, the people I work with now, like honestly, like when I retweet this on Baba Got Bars, they're gonna be like, you did read a book? Like I go across the country now. I get hired by like state organizations and huge crowds. And the people who know me from Read a Book assume that was like the entry. And it might have been my entry like mentally as far as like, oh, I'm gonna do art and education. But the people I do education with, I don't present Read a Book to. You know what I'm saying? Read a Book was never as serious as some people thought it was. You know what I'm saying? It was me pointing out something about art. And it's like, oh, that was education. I was like, nah, I mean, like, I love, like, our kids didn't need me to yell at them these things. It was just me saying, oh, if this is what the art form is, then let me apply that art. It was me understanding the pieces that made Lil Jon hot and like highlighting them was basically what it was. And so yeah, it's not like, I think people who know me from Read a Book think I must go to these teachers and press play on Read a Book, and I don't. Like that would be a turn off, actually.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They know me from like using those same skills and like seriously applying it to like their 5th grade classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick question too, because I know you said you had the sample.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any clearance problems with that?
So Beethoven's 5th Symphony is not a sample. Okay. It's older than copyright law.
Okay.
So anything, and know this, and for my beat producers out there, Beethoven slaps. So go listen to him, go steal it, play it over a beat. You ain't got to pay nobody no money.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Hey, that might be a new angle for artists.
I put
Scott Joplin. I used a Scott Joplin. I used the Entertainer on my last album, and I assumed I would have to like find out who owned the copyrights. It's literally like the year before copyrights. Okay. So I don't know anybody for that music. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
finesse right there. That's game right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you this too, because you have the program. You say you started off as an after school program. And you did a homeschool as well. Is it kind of like, I mean, so I guess kind of explain the trial and error, because I'm sure you probably may have tried or used some of the techniques with the homeschool, or maybe have more students who come to the homeschool now because of it, or can you break that down for us?
Right. So my homeschooling journey started my ex-wife and I, when we broke up, we were really heartbroken. about a whole bunch of things, but one of them was we were always planning to homeschool our children. And then when we broke up, we was like, that's just like, it was two different houses, you know, we still
Right.
both trying to figure out our careers, you know, blah, 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 blah. So we sent our sons to public school, and I am a public school advocate. I'll say it off the break. Like I'm a product of PG County public schools. I think my sons would have been all right in public school. My goal for my children is more than all right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They were going through public school, and I was augmenting their public school education. I'm self-employed. I'm an artist, so I have a lot of time. So I would drop in on my son's classes all the time. And I wasn't paying attention to the calendar. And one day I popped in, and it was Columbus Day, and I popped in on the Columbus Day lesson. And it was already a substitute teacher because their regular teacher was out on maternity leave. And I'm sitting in the back of this Columbus Day lesson, and I'm like, this is why I wanted to homeschool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the lesson itself was fine. As a matter of fact, a couple triggers happened. The lesson was factual, and our kids need to know who Columbus was. Columbus is one of the reasons we're here. We need to have him in proper context. It doesn't need to be a day named after him, you know, that kind of stuff. But it was actually going smoothly. I was sitting in the back of the class, and then the teacher who was a substitute and who had retired and hadn't been in the classroom in several years, she pulled out the old Columbus poem, like in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And she passed it out and had the kids do it and do a worksheet around it. I'm an educator. I'm a history quasi buff. I know that we don't teach that poem in school anymore because it's a lie. He didn't discover the continent. Right. It's blah, 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 blah. I also know that as an educator and as a parent, I'm not supposed to like raise my hand and be like, oh, that's some BS, blah, 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 blah. So I'm sitting in the back, like just fuming, you know what I'm saying? Like Malcolm X is just like poking me in my shoulder, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You can't let your enemy teach your children, you know what I'm saying? Like, And so I called the teacher. I was like, yo, you're doing a great job with the lesson. I was like, but this 1492 poem, I know like we don't use that in the classroom anymore. It's not true. And she said, yeah, but it has such a great rhythm and rhyme and the students love it. And I'm like, that's the point. I respect the power of rhythm and rhyme, and we're not going to use that to put that crap into my son's head. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so after the lesson, I took my sons and I looked them right in the eye, and I used language that I won't use on your show right now. And I've already explained my sons like you use profane language to like describe profane situations. And I just wanted to let them know how upset I was that they got taught a lesson where Columbus was the hero, and I'm gonna have a conversation with their mother and we're gonna figure something out. Right. And so then
I get it.
So then I talked to their mom last night. I mean, the next that night. And she was like, yeah, you know, your sons came out holding this Christopher Columbus paper, and I started going off, blah, 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 blah. And they said, yeah, you already went off about it. I was like, yeah. I was like, so we got to figure something out. So by the fall of the next year, we were homeschooling. We were fortunate to be doing it in the DMV. Once again, why I rep PG County so hard. I wouldn't even completely suggest how we did it to everyone. I think we were kind of made up our mind and then did it, but we were fortunate to be here. Like there are some other places where like just there's such a large community of like of people with either the money or the time or the combination of both, and then just the zeal to like teach their children separately, that we literally like jumped into a net that was already there. And there were parents who were like, this is the paperwork. This is a group we meet on Mondays. We meet on Thursdays. We meet on Tuesdays. You know, all these parents. This is an accountant. He teaches math. This is a lawyer. He teaches blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
You got hooked up with a cohort.
Yeah. And a couple of them at first. And then we really settled in with the Sankofa Homeschool Collective, which meets on Fridays. And it's just a whole bunch of just black people who teach all the subjects from the perspective of an African. And so then, you know, I was trying to figure out a way to contribute. And I came up with something called the Frederick Douglass Writing Club, which I've actually turned into my teaching artist career now. And that is, I would get a whole bunch of 10, 11, 12-year-olds. We would meet for 6 hours a day at my studio, and we would spend the whole time reading the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, taking field trips to places within like 2 hours of where I live to go to learn about Frederick Douglass, which includes going to West Virginia to what we call it, John Brown's raid, where that happened, going to Douglas's house in Southeast, going to museums in Baltimore and Annapolis and Eastern Shore, really just like the way I always wanted to teach history was experiential. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole point of history is not like dates and times. It's like
Right.
this happened. This is the lesson from what happened. This is how you can use this in real life. And so it's like Douglas was a great public speaker. This is why. He was a voracious reader. You know what I'm saying? He was observant, blah, 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 blah. So like for 12 weeks, it was me and a whole bunch of 11-year-old boys reading the autobiography of Frederick Douglass and making rhymes about it and learning how to be journalists and learning how to be public speakers. And what I do now is like the developed version of that. And it comes from my zeal to be a homeschooler, the trust that I got from other homeschool parents who are like, you know, I believe in this brother and I'm gonna give them my 11-year-old for 6 hours a day. And
Right.
you know, they're all I'm still following them now, and they're all, you know, still writing and reading and loving it. But that has just kind of blossomed into a whole career by itself.
Got it. Got it. That's good. That's good. So let me ask you. So you're a full-time artist, right?
Yes.
And what systems have you put in place that fortifies your full-time artistry?
Yeah. So, and especially, I've been able to take stock of this now during the pandemic, but it's kind of just been like wedging my way into the school system specifically. So,
Got
like
it.
when I first started, I was going out and doing after school programs in schools, and I was meeting with them individually. And I just got fortunate, and I was really, you know, I'm good at what I do, but I also just got fortunate networking with organizations who do that work for me.
Got it.
And
Right.
so that, you know, I'm dealing with large scale organizations. You
Got
know
it.
what I'm saying? And so like I feel it's got to be a tough position if like all your connections were like directly with schools before this pandemic, because now
Right.
it's harder to, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so like I don't know if I could have started this now.
Right.
You know, I have to be in this position now in order for it to continue rolling. And so I was fortunate to link up with organizations that were like introduced me to all of Prince George's County schools, all of Montgomery County schools, Howard County schools, North Carolina, Arlington County schools, that type of thing. And then and just dealing on that scale. And then really just understanding like part of being a good artist, you know, like any good skill, like being able to teach it kind of reveals it. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
know I am a better hip hop artist because I've been forcing myself to break down the intricacies of being a hip hop artist. You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? I can't wait to get some of the stuff off my desk, these projects that I have where I can just be completely open-minded, because now I have this rhythm to like how to make hooks. And you know, I've been teaching kids like this is how you make a hook, this is how you find the main idea and make sure you keep bringing back people back to it. And I got all these ideas just like rolling through my head right now, because all I'm doing all day is trying to figure out how to take this concept and like meld it down into something palatable, you know what I'm saying, easy to
Right.
deliver. And so it's helped on all ends.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Sweet. Good stuff, man. As far as like the subject of our conversation, how do you leverage your art to build your platform?
So really I use my art to get me in front of people, and then
Mm,
especially here in the DMV, even beginning when I was like working full-time with Busboys and Poets,
right.
like within the audience, there's usually there's always somebody looking for what I'm doing education wise, whether individually for their child or their PTA member or their a school principal or something like that. Like even right now, like my new project coming out in the fall, Watermelon Man. Like I haven't perfected the game of making money directly off of my hip hop art. Like I can. I don't
Got it.
have like wife and 3 kids money
Right.
directly off of hip hop art. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
But
Right.
what that does is like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that. Who are you? Oh, I investigate. Oh, what else
Got
can
it.
I do with you? You know what I'm saying? That type of
Got it.
stuff. So this
Got
next project, Watermelon Man, like even the way I have it budgeted out in the Excel sheet, you know, if it pops, you know, I make $1 million. I move to Kenya. You know what I'm saying? If it
it.
doesn't pop, I make 6 figures and people just know more about who I am, and then they use being introduced through my art to bring me into right form to promote, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. So the whole recording artist thing, and this is probably even more helpful for poets than it is for everybody else because of the way poets music lives, poets art pieces live. It's going back to the singles model. Like in the 40s and the 50s, like you didn't like, it was rare to release an album. You put out a single, you didn't make any money off the single. You made money because the single made everybody know who you are. And then they were like, oh, I'm coming to St. Louis. Oh, I'm coming to Dallas. Oh, I'm coming to blah, 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 blah.
The touring.
And like, yeah, the touring. And so like, if you made money back from your royalties, you put it back into promoting the song more because you made your actual money off of you in person doing your thing. And I think that's where it's going to now. It's in a weird space because of COVID, of course, but yeah, that's the business model.
Got you. Have you been able to monopolize on this lane because of? I see you have your setup in the background with your green screen and things of that nature, right? So have you? I don't like to use the word monopolize.
Capitalized.
Yeah. But you at the same time you still can monopolize. Yeah.
So and even so to get to the idea of even monopolizing, right? Like I want to make an impact. I want to be famous for being Baba Bomani, you know what I'm saying? But I want to make an impact. So like one of the biggest things that I want to do is duplicate what I'm doing with other artists. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to do this through Zoom and online has made it so I can teach a class in Texas. I can teach a class in Kenya right now, which is super, super dope. But kids still need people who can do this in person. And I know a bunch of dope educators who are also dope rappers who haven't taken the time or figured out how to do both at the same time. And I would like to give them the same skills, and you know what I'm saying? And so that other young people can have that, the big brother that I have been to a whole bunch of, like, I've got artists now who are full-time artists who learned how to write songs with me. And I want other young people to have somebody who can do that. And I know they have people sitting around them who have all the elements and just need somebody to be like, look, this is how you take your love for teaching and your love for hip hop and you apply it to young people around you. And so I think I'm gonna make an even bigger impact from my classes teaching teachers, because those teachers teach other students. And so in that way, you know,
good.
I'm like a virus, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. It just keeps on giving.
Yeah, that's and so that's and I want all my stuff is copyright written. I want my royalties from it. But I understand that might not happen either. And I understand that people are going to use some of my tactics and they're not going to associate it, not going to be like, I learned this from Baba Bomani. But some kid is going to learn how to read and how to write. And that's fine. And that's like, that's what I'm giving. You know, I've been given a lot. That's what I'm giving, is trying to help people figure out how to make that simpler in their lives.
Gotcha. Have you been able to license your things out to school systems and things?
Yeah, I have actually. As a matter of fact, and that might be one of the weaknesses in my game is just staying on top of that stuff.
Got it.
But like, so my whole like before the shutdown, and even now they're gonna try to do it, but they're so scrambled. Like basically, I did a what do you call it? A prototype, a demo of PG County schools just using my Frederick Douglass writing curriculum as their social studies ELA curriculum as an intricate part. You know what I'm saying? Where like I went and met with the whole social studies department. We had planned a field trip to Frederick Douglass's house where I was going to debut a song about all the different ways he used his English language art skills. And I was going to have a whole bunch of middle schoolers in his house watching a music video about it. And the government shutdown happened and Frederick Douglass's house is part of the Smithsonian. And so I was blown, you know what I'm saying? So, but that's where I'm going with it. I want it to be like, we're not rapping as like garnish. We're not rapping as like as an extra credit, as a thing to try to keep people like, no, kids like, and teachers will tell you, kids will go around singing. I still say Migos, and I have to realize that Migos might be old school to 14-year-olds now, but they go around. Crazy. That's crazy, right?
Crazy.
But they go around like saying this over and over again. And as an educator, all you want them to do is have your thing stuck in their head.
That's what you want.
So I stopped fighting it. And I was like, all right, if y'all gonna, the Little John logic, you know what I'm saying? We gonna find something simple. And we gonna wash, rinse, repeat. We gonna do it over and over again. Yeah.
It's perfect timing now, right? It's perfect time for what you do right now because everything is so Black Lives Matter. And everybody in every organization is looking for the incorporation of Black culture.
Right.
And that is a way to capitalize, not just on COVID, but capitalize on the climate.
Yeah. No doubt. That's another reason why I feel blessed right now. Another reason why I feel like I must have been following my calling the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Another reason, like where my sons are educated now, I lovingly and jokingly call it Hotep Hogwarts. You know what I'm saying? It's like the blackety is blackety black. You know what I'm saying? And we teach, and the idea is that it's just like, and we don't realize this because we're so inundated in this culture,
Right.
but like everything just needs to be taught from the perspective of the African. And you don't realize that everything that you're being taught is being taught to you from the perspective of the European. There's no neutral. You know what I'm saying? So you just might as well be in control of it, right?
Right.
And so now that people are kind of realizing that, they're like, well, who do we go to? And me and my Hotep friends have all been like, hey,
I'm here.
We've been doing it. You're welcome in. We ain't even gonna, we know some of us feel a little salty, you know what I'm saying? But whatever.
Right.
You know, once you're ready to be like, yo, how do I like and once again, like this is why I rep on this new project. I like rep PG County so hard because it gives me this freedom. You know what I'm saying? One of the things I learned from read a book, my cousins would call me from out of town, and this is a very real concern in that I don't have, even though I have an understanding of it being in such a diverse place. My cousins would call me from out of town. Is like, yeah, I don't remember how we get into conversations about like how do white people feel about this? You know what I'm saying? Like how you got to interact with white people when they got this image out there, and I was like, who cares what white people think? And I realized it was a luxury of being in PG County. Like I can choose not to see white people, and I love white people, but like I can go all day, all night. I can buy drugs and go see a judge, and they both be black. You know what I'm saying? And so like I've been having this conversation artistically with black people about blackness without white gaze for a moment.
Gotcha.
And I think that's what everybody's hungry for right now, right? Especially I mean, my takeaway from the whole Black Lives Matter movement was a whole bunch of women, black women, yelled out Black Lives Matter, and too large of this country's population went, well, actually, and it really doesn't matter what you say after that. Like we're having an argument on whether or not my life matters. And if we're having an argument, if I'm in your house and the subject of my life mattering is a subject of debate, I'm thinking I'm plotting and making moves. Like I need to be ready to fight. I need to be ready to run. I need to know where the window is. I need to know where the door is. Like I'm not safe. If I'm in your house and whether or not my life is of value and matters is open in an open debate. And like I can sit here and try to convince y'all that my life matters and try to get the people on my side, or I can be like, let me make sure that I'm okay no matter how you feel about my life. That my life being in existence is not based on whether or not you believe my life matters. That's how I took the whole Black Lives Matter thing. So I'm like, I would love for people to make America more comforting and more welcoming for me here, but I'm preparing as if they're not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if Black Lives Matter is successful, I'm be right behind y'all. Even the inroads that Black Lives Matter makes, I am benefiting from. So I'm right behind y'all. But we also but black people also need some place to just be safe. And that's where I'm working on. When you tired of being face to face with police, you know what I'm saying, in their police riot gear and yelling at them about the rights you want, you need to sit back and just sit in your blackness and be happy. Come chill with me and get refreshed, you know what I'm saying, and then go back out there and do that. But I'm trying to create the space where we're not asking them for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Where, you know, we're educating ourselves, we're feeding ourselves, that type of stuff. So
let me ask you this, because I know you brought up Malcolm X, and how Malcolm X did have a quote about how we should have our people teaching us not have enemy teachers, because that's it's not common sense. When it comes down to the education aspect and just how things are going right now, I guess what's your projections for the number of black educators or even black parents that we reach out to try? Because what I've seen is In order to build the poetry industry, in order to build your brand and build what you're doing right now, you got to take risks. Some people aren't even trying to take certain risks because of fear of what may be associated with that risk. You know what I mean? So with the projections of what you see, how do you think you can, I guess, kind of help you bypass those barriers? You know what I'm saying?
I do think we need to all just say we need to be part of a culture shift. We need to be part of culture shift. Like we all have to start taking more personal responsibility for the education of the young people around us, and that we need to find. Like I want to take advantage of this. Everybody being at home right now. First of all, like I think we need to not call what we're doing. Like I homeschool, but if your school system was shut down, what you're doing right now isn't homeschooling.
Right.
It's crisis teaching. All right. It's not homeschooling. If you were homeschooling, you would have done a whole different plan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You would have planned it out. Grandmama would have known, you know what I'm saying? You would have, when you homeschool, there's a whole thing where you try to figure it out. Right now, the world was falling apart and everybody's home with their kids. You know what I'm saying? And so I want everyone to just, first of all, just take a deep breath and don't be mad at themselves because this ain't normal. You know what I'm saying? You're not, this
it's hard though, man.
Yeah. And,
you know what I mean?
But what it is making us all be really intimate with our children's education. And to your Malcolm X point, that's what we need to jump in on. Like, look, like something else is going to happen. We're sending our kids back to school. We're going to send them back on a staggered schedule. We're going to something. But you as a parent are going to be more involved in your child's education. You should be regardless, but you're going to be kind of forced to at this point. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I haven't gotten good at marketing this aspect of it because I've been just so concentrating on actually making the curriculum, but marketing this to parents as like you're at home schooling your children. I can show you how to just write raps with your kids, and that's an ELA lesson. You and your children be like, this is a fun story about grandpa. Let me tell you the story about grandpa. You write it down. You take the points out. Oh, you write a rhyme about grandpa. As a matter of fact, you write a rhyme about grandpa, and then you explain how that is sort of like how you explain how that is how Will They Reminisce Over You is that type of song, or how like the intro to Will Smith's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is like a rap used to tell a story. And then you say, well, that's like a praise poem. That's like Sundiata. That's like the songs they sing in South Africa. It's something we've always been doing. We come up with rhythm and rhyme and we tell our story. You know what I'm saying? Which is an English language art lesson, which is something you can do with your kids. You just got to be conscious of like you having fun with your child doing this very African thing is also a skill that they can use that will get them into college, that will help them run a business, all that kind of stuff. And me just helping parents see that and take advantage of those things.
Look, we've had one of our guests, Bianca J. Jackson, is a LinkedIn expert, right? And she was saying that it is really important for the artists, the professional artists, to get on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is all shirts and ties and titles and positions, right? But it also is where the decision makers are, the CEOs and the event planners, and right. And her point was there aren't a lot of artists, and all of these decision makers are looking for artists. Whether it's to perform at their school, at their organization, DJ their party, whatever it might be, paint a mural. But tell me how, I know where I was going with that. She was saying that it would behoove the artist to do what you're doing and put programs together and present them out on LinkedIn, because the school administrators, board members are there. They're not necessarily they're on Facebook to connect with their family and friends.
Your artsy friends will spend that $15 once. You know what I'm saying? It's the suit and tie person that's gonna get you that, seven-figure contract.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so yeah. You got to make sure they're both happy, but you get one of that one suit and tie that gets you that contract. Because
the question is there money in poetry, right? And so many people say no,
right,
because they think one track minded. my poem that I write is not making me any money right now.
Right.
You know, the only way I can make money from it is if I customize a poem for somebody's whatever wedding, funeral, you know, or if,
I'm surprised more poets don't work for political campaigns. I'm surprised that you don't
ooh,
come up and do like a slam poet and be like, I use my words to convince people. Call me.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like you got something
right.
you want you that like
That's good.
it's a transferable skill. Like the
That's
way
good.
I love using it is to do this and to bring attention to myself and to score 30 and to blah 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 blah. But
Right.
if you got a message and you want someone else to feel that message, come talk to me about it and we're gonna figure out how to take your words and yeah.
Mm.
And one of the things that I've been figuring out how to do, like I mean, one of the blessings that I've had in my career is that like there was a point where I was creating the curriculum and creating the art and creating the connections. And that just like I don't I evidently
Yeah, I
multitask well
understand.
enough.
A lot.
I multitask well enough to get me to a certain point, but
Right.
it wasn't helpful at some level. So once
Right.
I got someone else to be like, you make the curriculum, I find the schools, then it's
Got
like,
it.
oh snap. As a matter of fact, the curriculum got 10 times better, twice as fast because I'm not at home like
You're focusing.
I'm focusing, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so part of it is, and this is like you can't completely skip that step because you also kind of got to figure out as an artist if you're viable. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I would love for you to skip right from like I want to be an artist, so let me find somebody who's going to help you find places to do art. But the way you find out if you're viable right now without an infrastructure is, well, can you go directly to the people and get some gigs?
Yes.
I was able
Yes.
to get some gigs, and then people were like, "Hey, you've got something going on here. How do we, you know what I'm saying, move it forward?"
Yeah.
But now I spend a lot of time concentrating on curriculum, and I do want to like I need a sabbatical or something where I just sit back and just figure out new strategies to network. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That happens like easily and doesn't distract me from, you know, creating. But yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, you know, you and I talk. We're definitely going to connect and to where we have, you know, Poet Life Academy, and we incorporate your curriculum.
You know, you made me think of this. Did you know that there used to be a whole industry? It still exists, but it's not as much anymore. Huge corporations would pay playwrights to write a play for their like annual meeting, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if you were like aluminum, if you're like the aluminum union, you would hire some Broadway play guy to write some play about aluminum that was corny as I don't know what, but it would entertain like 2,000 people who came to the yearly aluminum union
Right.
meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Transferring the same thing to spoken word, transferring the same thing to hip hop, transferring
Yeah.
like you have a message, you have a mission, you have a statement, you know what I'm saying? You have a product launch, you have something that you need words and a captivated audience. And the reason they were using Broadway musicals at the time is because Broadway musical was the art form at the time. Now you see everybody, even Common does commercials now, and Common doesn't rap in commercials, he does spoken word.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If you spoken word has this has cornered the market on Black consciousness as a performative art. You know what I'm saying? And so whether it is for real, like some people are Black consciousness as a performative art. Some people just take on that mantle because that's where it is. The way you rap as a thug, you do spoken word as a conscious artist. You know what I'm saying? But that is so embedded that now if you as an organization want to say something conscious to your employees, you might want to, hey, that's you got to have some snappy fingers and an angry Black man. I'm like, hey, hi, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? That's what I've been doing anyway, you know? So,
you know, I think poets need to learn how to teach their audience that they need them. Because poetry isn't necessarily an industry yet. They don't know. And like you said, a lot of artists need to take a sabbatical, and this is a great time to take that time if you don't have 3 kids and a wife, like you and me. J-Rob, you got 2, you know. But if you take that time and really think about what organizations need, you can be like, man, I can actually use, because take the word poetry out. I'm good with words. You know what I mean? And I
As a
can
matter
make
of fact,
rhyme.
matter of fact, my college professor once said poetry is the economy of words. And so if you present that to people who are trying to figure out, like they got a bunch they're trying to say in that much time. I'm a
Exactly.
poet. That's what I do. I could tell you a book in 575. You know what I'm saying? And so figuring out how that translates to other stuff
Yes.
is the key. Yeah.
Yes. That's huge, man. I wish a lot of poets would get that and just think outside of the box. Go ahead, Jaredi.
No, I'm just going. You good?
Okay, yeah. Think outside the box, man, and let's say think outside the poem.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
and go to where you're saying where is the money? Let's go to where the money is, right? Because all right, you have the poetry community, you have the poetry industry. Okay, most in the poetry community do it for the love, and I want to express myself, but those who are looking to make this a career, that's where the poetry industry is, right? And you have to know what you want to do with your art. You have to know whether or not you want to make this a career or not. And so if that is the case, then you have to go where the decision makers are and ask them what they're looking for, or know what they're looking for. They're looking for someone that is good with words and can translate their mission right into something short and attractive. And
Right.
you can do that.
Right.
I'm thinking about if we have with the education aspect and how we teach students. One thing like brevity can go like just like poetry, like brevity is transferable. If you teach public speaking and confidence in front of people, how that can like just help change just the culture we're doing. And just thought I had about just building the poetry industry, just what you were saying to add on, Christoph. If we have enough people who see a need in the community, and we have enough poets who are industrious, it's already working hand in hand, right? Like
Yes.
that. So just taking that example as we have right here, but Monty, that's already starting to spark right there. That's why I asked, like, what's your projection for how do you see this happen, like in the future, as far as what's going on right now with COVID and just transitioning from out of this to the future. You know what I mean? Because it all comes back full circle.
And I really appreciate y'all having me on, because like having conversations always like, I mean, this is why, I mean, you, Christoph, you see me on social media. This is why I like throwing out ideas, because just getting feedback gives me clarity on like my own thinking. But one thing that I even notice about my own like career, and that's probably helpful for poets and artists in general, is this understanding. And that is like, just in the history, to be extra deep, like in the history of culture, artists only exist after like the working class is solid, right? Like artists only exist, art, philosophy, musicians, like when there's enough food, when there's enough water, when there's enough shelter, where we have time to think, that's when artists have time to paint. And you know what I'm saying? Like where there's enough people doing that kind of stuff where they can support that. You know what I'm saying? That's the next stage in culture. Like you go from a small town to a city because you're making so much money that some people are just selling their artwork and can spend their whole time doing artwork. You know what I'm saying? And so we are a product of like the working class working well, or we just couldn't be here, right? So but we also need to understand like our way to strengthen that and keep that going is to see our art as augmenting that, as being like the soundtrack for that. Like I'm even like I'm trying to categorize my own music. I was making fun of another really popular artist because I realized like the lead single of all his projects told me something about his personality, and I realized all my lead singles on my projects are all about like being a hardworking person and doing whatever you can trying to make it, and me trying to encourage you as a hardworking person. You know what I'm saying? And so that's me giving back. That's me being the reason that you know what I'm saying? But then also it's like, so these companies need something. These organizations need something. What can I do as an artist? You know what I'm saying? I exist because these companies keep me afloat, but they also, so how do you become part of that feeder back and forth? You're not something like the perfect, I think some artists think of themselves as escaping the reality, as being like, I do this thing separate from like the corporate world, but like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm doing this thing that is a result of it. And that can come back and be like this, and you know, especially now that because we're trying to push like the conversation around Black Lives Matter is like corporate responsibility, pushing their hearts and their minds. It's not
Thank
math.
you.
It's
We're
not
the perfect people to call.
yeah. It's not math. It's not
Hey,
science.
listen,
It's
that little letter that you're putting out.
Right. In times like these,
letter, the last organization put out. All you did was copy and paste.
Right.
Put some heart into it.
Right. Find the extended metaphor with your project, with your product. That isn't corny. You need a poet for that. You bring me in, and I can make whatever your company is like. What's the and everybody like, oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that takes creativity. Your accountant's not going to come up with that. Your marketing department, you know what I'm saying? They might be able to help you with the flashy stuff of it, but with the actual words,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing, just being able to help your employees relax and release and relate. How do you express yourself? How do you get your word? Like, even if you're not sharing your poems, how do you get your words out so that you're not going crazy in your office?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How do you scrapbook? How do you know what I'm saying? This is it's not, we're not doing something separate from that. We're doing something that we can help them with those things. You know what I'm saying?
That's
the same way they're being our lawyers and our accountants, we're their poet. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's what this conversation is about, man, is to really open people's or poets' minds, artists' minds, and say, oh man, I really can do so much more with what I have, because all I've thought about was the poem that I wrote, and I'm gonna go to the open mic. And so that's as far as I thought about it. And and let me see what I have in my archive that I can industrialize.
Right.
How can I sync it with someone else's mission?
I mean, even real simply, when I was the director of poetry events at Busboys,
right?
One thing I would say, especially I'd get up on the microphone, especially if I had a frustrated night with like just all the same kind of poems. I'm like, yo, do you have one poem in your arsenal you can do in front of your grandma? Like there are community organizations who do their community day and they need a poet. You know what I'm saying? Do you have something you can do that fits that occasion?
Or do you have one that you can do at your job and not get fired?
Exactly. You can do at your job and your boss can be like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Like we needed that. We needed that.
Yeah, we needed that.
Yeah.
You don't even have to that's good. You don't even have to think that deep. It don't even have to be that deep. Like, do I have something that wouldn't, that can, I don't want to say that wouldn't offend somebody. Let's go the positive route.
Yes.
Do I have something that can
will uplift someone?
Yes. See,
the conversation is coming full circle. I told you my introduction to using words in music is the church. You know what I'm saying? And no matter how I feel about the actual aspects of exactly what you're saying, it was being around people who were like, I want to help you. I want to change your life. This moves you. I'm gonna find a way to use this to move you and change your life and to fortify you. And that's the angle I've always come from. You know what I'm saying?
That made me think about rap at its infancy. Rap didn't really get big until it attached itself to a movement. You know what I mean? Like it, Public Enemy, just the NWA, they didn't really explode until it attached itself to or the movement attached itself to the art. I'm not sure which one.
The way you're saying it, the way I would say it is, and I'm glad you said it. It's when hip hop kind of became aware of itself.
Yes,
it always was like a political movement. It was like people without something saying, "Look at me, listen to me, hear me." Hip hop was Black Lives Matter before there was Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It was like no one's paying attention to me. I'm a spray paint on the wall so you notice that I was here, that I lived.
I matter.
No one's paying attention to my block. I'm gonna get on the microphone and tell you that my block is great. My friends are great. We are here. You know what I'm saying? And we can't make our own music because there's no music in the school anymore. But we got our parents' records. We gonna do something. You know what I'm saying? And so Public Enemy and the message was these rappers realizing that they were that guy.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, we're just sitting here talking about, because all I'm doing is get on the microphone and bragging, I'm from this block and this block is great. But also, this is going on my block now. This is going on my block. This like, oh, wait a minute. Now I'm that dude. Like, I'm the one telling you what's going on the block. And so, yeah, hip hop realized that about itself, and then it was like, well, let's go with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's good. That's good, man.
Let me ask you this, man, real quick, because just to add on to that too, Christoph, hip hop, when it became a market, or when it reached the marketplace, it kind of lost some of the integrity of the message. So when it comes to poetry and when what we're striving to do, how do we keep the message pure once poetry reaches the marketplace in a bigger way?
So I've thought about that a lot. As far as just keeping cultural and artistic integrity, and just because of like what I study and understand about like popular culture and Black people's place in popular culture, my strategy has just been trying to stay on top of what the kids are doing, because the way the cycle works is like Black kids in these silos and these ghettos, you know, in the classic sense of the word, like everybody around you is from your culture, come up with these art forms. They're derided for these art forms, then applauded for these art forms, and then money's made from these art forms, and then it's stolen from them, and then it starts all over again. Right? And then there was always, and so like, I hope it doesn't happen, but like we might be sitting around in a conversation 30 years from now and be like, man, remember when poetry was pure? Remember when, like, this is the reason, because we're going to be a part of the reason, you guys especially are going to be the part of the reason it blows up even further. Commercially, it might get more tentacles into it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we're always going to have this battle of whether or not, you know, it's pure, it's honest, it's an honest representation of our culture. The way to make sure that we don't have to worry about that is if we keep our ear to the kids are going to come up with something else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we just gotta, and like, I'm really adamant right now of I'm protective of my son's art form. I don't know what it is yet. They don't know what it is yet. Their whole generation is coming up with something that I haven't heard of yet. But I don't want my son's generation to be NWA. You know what I'm saying? We've been there already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when they come up with that weird thing and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, I'm not gonna bob my head to it. I don't know what's wrong with y'all children, but we going to my folks for the record deal. We're going to my folks for the distribution. We're not gonna let you, you know, I mean, Ice Cube was intentionally being dramatic and over the top and salacious with his word choice, right? And they were always supposed to be like aberrant. They were always supposed to be like, that's weird. And it became like, no, that's what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, that's going to happen again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it will take longer next time. Maybe we break free, but I make plans as if the society we operate in isn't going to change that much. And so in order to not go crazy myself and be mad 30 years from now because the art form that I love doesn't represent the way I want it to, I want to just wherever the streets are going, I'm gonna be like, I'm with them because this is the new honesty. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
That's how I'm
you
doing.
know, that's a good question, Rod D. You know, I liken that to naturally at our 9 to 5s, at church, at, you know, wherever we go, we naturally code switch. Right? You know, we speak in slang around our boys. When we get in the office, we switch up. We say the same thing, but in a different way. And because we're writers, we have the ability to say the same thing, but in a different way. I think we have the ability to do that. I think you can express the same poem, but translate it in a more what's the word? I don't know. Acceptable. I don't know. Acceptable. If you wanted to say, if you wanted to use that, but I think we have the capability to I don't even want to use the word mask, but if you understand what I'm saying, like,
yeah,
you can say it the same. I mean, you can say the same poem, but just say it in a different way that just works in an office setting. If that makes sense.
It's adaptable.
Yes.
Able to adapt the poem.
Yeah, it's like a chameleon's poem. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's funny, other cultures don't necessarily know what we're saying when we speak in our culture's language. Right. And so when we give them their language or proper or wherever, you know, I can still say the same thing and have the same impact or even a bigger impact because now they get what I'm saying in their tongue, if you will.
It's interesting because it works both ways too, though, right? Because like once you tell an audience you're doing spoken word, and I know this from watching a whole bunch of slams, like what you're saying is not as important as you having a rhythm that they associate with.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're like, so you could read the mission statement.
Yes.
You just got to do the mission statement.
Basically, know word. Your audience.
Yeah.
Period. Like if you're a comedian, you automatically, when you're telling the same story, you mention, if you're in DC, you mention Union Station.
Right.
People say, "Oh, he knows about Union Station." Oh.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like in New York, you say something.
I'm reminded of that Cat Williams special when he talked about Iverson Mall when he was in DC.
Right.
And I was like, he probably did that literally everywhere he went. He went there first.
All right,
he bought some Tim
the
somewhere.
Landmark that black people associate themselves with in this city?
Right. That's black, like not the black thing that white people know about. But it's
gotta
like
be accurate now. Don't give me something.
don't set me up. So they told him about Iverson Mall, and they was like, whoever told you about Iverson Mall,
exactly. I think he was talking about getting robbed or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. We just talk about how ghetto Iverson Mall was.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Which
so it's
we all love it. We all go there and we was like, good job.
It's the same story that he said in every city he went to. I don't care if it was Africa somewhere. He you know what I mean? So that's what I mean. Like, and that's my response to a lot of poets, that I'm not watering down my art and this, that, and the third. I get it. I understand. But if you cannot be adaptable, you're going to be a broke artist.
And be able to take commissions at least. Like you don't have to like I write what people want when because I've positioned myself to be like,
yes,
I need a song about this. I'm coming to you because you do songs about this. Something I've been meaning to do. Chris, maybe you can help me with this, right? Maybe you can help me with this because this is an idea. I have ideas all the time. I just need to organize them.
Yeah.
So dudes who want to write their woman a love poem, a love song, you meet with a poet. This is what I love about it. This is what I love about it. This is what I love about it. Blah, 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 blah. Y'all talk together. You come up, and then you can still, when you give it to your lady, you can still be like, hey, I spent money and hired a dude to help me get my words together to make sure I express myself. She's going to love that too. Like I sat down with another guy and explained to him how much I loved you so he can help me get it right. You know what I'm saying? Like that could be a whole cottage industry by itself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I've stopped arguing about, that because it's all about intentionality. Like if you're good with not getting paid for your art, cool. But don't look down upon the poet that wants to get paid for their art.
And understand the poet is doing those chameleon poems and is using that money and free time to do their poems.
Exactly.
You got to do both. You know what I'm saying? You got to do both.
Yeah, you still have room to write your own and express yourself, but help somebody else express themselves who's not a poet.
Right.
So yeah, man. This was good, man. I really appreciate your insight and your journey, man.
Thank you.
Just from looking at your screen tells me that you're serious about what you're doing. Just
That's what's up. I'm
you know
trying
what
to,
I'm saying? Like,
everybody now is trying to figure out the right backdrop. You know what I'm saying? So I was like,
telling you.
I could do it. I could do a green screen. I can get that fake book thing behind me. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? But I was
Right.
like, let me just let y'all know that this is what I do all day. I'm down here working out with my kids and I'm making art. You know what I'm saying?
That's admirable, man. Like, well, admirable, I would say. I said
Thank
that
you.
wrong. My accent was completely wrong with that. But that tells me that you're serious about what you do. You've invested in yourself and in your brand. You know, and that's another question. Have you invested in your brand? Have you
Right.
Are you taking your craft, your art serious enough to buy a microphone, to buy a backdrop, and not just do it in the bathroom?
But see, and then the name of your thing is so perfect because it's not poet career, it's not poet job, it's poet life.
Life, it's a lifestyle.
You got to decide, and this is the thing I
That's
feel
where
like.
it is. That's what it is.
In the conversation I have with young people who tell me they want to be artists, like if I'm not teaching them in a class where I'm teaching ELA, where I'm teaching I get a chance to do after school programs and master classes where it's like this kid's like, I want to be a rapper. It's not, so like, look, you want to be a rapper, cool. There's a whole bunch of stuff I can tell you about rap, about copyrights, about blah 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 blah. I was like, how badly do you need new shoes? You know what I'm saying? Like, how badly, like, can you impress your date with your personality? Like, I can show you places you can go that don't cost a lot of money.
Right.
Because if you really want to do this, like, because you have to pick kind of one or the other. You know what I'm saying? Initially.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Initially, you got to be like, I'm gonna not make money while I'm working on the art form. I'm
sacrifice.
What if I show a 15-year-old what I make an hour now, they would be really impressed. But I got to explain to them that I'm making that's the 19-year-old me getting paid back. You know what I'm saying? The 19-year-old me was getting a 50th of this.
Right.
And this is that salary. You know what I'm saying? I didn't jump to this. You know what I'm saying? And you got to make the decisions early as an artist. Like, do I want to live the artist life? And then living the artist life isn't like not having things. It's just finding joy in things that you might not have to spend money on.
Yeah.
For most of my adult life, I have not regretted Mondays.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? And like, I could have gotten nicer shoes and nicer cars, and I don't down people who do. I just know my own brain and my own sanity. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I honestly, like, and I've seen people personally drive themselves crazy. So my fear was, how do I make sure that I'm okay regardless? That I don't get up and hate what I'm doing. I would take less money to not hate what I'm doing.
You got to be intentional. You have to be intentional to love Mondays.
Yeah.
We purposely chose Monday to drop our episodes on because that gives us something to look forward to.
Got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
you gotta get motivated.
You do. You have to put markers. You have to put things in place to make you want to look forward to Monday. I can't wait to drop the next episode.
Right.
See the analytics. You know, how many people watched it and where they. Our second market, right next to the United States, obviously, is Ethiopia.
That's what's up.
20% of our market is Ethiopia.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying?
And
that's exciting. Like, and that's we drop every week, every Monday. Like, I can't wait for Monday. So put something in place on Monday that'll make you look forward to it and not just your 9 to 5 that you hate.
Right. And like I said, I'm fortunate. I had people around me making sure, trying to help set up so that I could, I live my dream right now. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Yeah, and it takes a moment for me to realize it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I had a moment. There was, and the other thing is, as much as I'm living my dream right now, I enjoyed the process. So even if I didn't quite make it here, I wasn't like, you know what I'm saying?
That's key.
I got the outro on my album is a song called "What I Love," and the in the chorus I say, one day all that I did will be all that I was. So when that time comes for me, I'll be doing what I love. And I just realized that, like, random stuff. We're in the age of COVID, meteors fall out the sky. At any point could be a last point. And I don't want that point to be like, I was doing something I really hated. I ain't want to be here right now.
Not gonna happen, bro. Not gonna happen.
And I don't get to decide when that happens, but I'm trying to be doing what I love all the time. So when it happens, I'm like, hey.
Look, and then you're pouring it into your kids. That your kids are watching you do what you love.
That's what's up, man.
So that shows them that they can do it too.
Yeah.
But so many people are not doing what they love, and they're showing their kids they can't do what they want to do when they grow up. You're telling them you can do anything you want when you grow up, but they looking at you sad on Monday morning, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like it's you're saying one thing and not
even if you're just
doing the next.
And even if you're just modeling the process of self-improvement, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to reach your goal for your children to have learned something from it.
Yeah.
They saw that you said it and you were going for it and that you lived it out.
At least that.
Yeah.
At least let them see you in the process.
Right.
And not settling for where you are.
Right.
We're gonna end right there, man, because we can go into a whole new hour, a whole new episode, and make a part 1 and a part 2, man. Bomani Ahmad, thank you so much for coming through the Poet Life podcast. You've given so much insight, so much value to the artists, and this is why we do what we do is to open the mind of the poet, not just the poet, the artist, or even just the person. Because they can translate it to whatever they're doing, So thank you so much, man. Just by you pursuing your passion is an inspiration in and of itself.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me, man. Baba got bars.
Thank you. Sure. Definitely was inspiring, man, because as an educator as well and as an artist, definitely good to see stuff like this. That I aspire to my own programs, so definitely got questions for you offline. And we exchange contact information, all the good stuff.
Oh yeah, man. This is me and Christoph been talking, man. This is all part of our world domination plan.
I already know. I already know from Christoph at the Academy, so I already know.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna throw that up right there. BabaGotBars.com, right?
Boom. Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed. As we get shine, we try to make sure whoever's next to us gets shine as well, man. So definitely, as Poet Life Podcast, as the Poet Life grows, we want to make sure whoever we connect with grows at the same time. Everybody watching, look, go to babagotbars.com. He has a whole lot to offer. Trust me when I tell you.
So let me see if I can do this economy of words things, right? So to break down what I do in this whole conversation and what you'll learn from going to Baba Got Bars, I hope to be famous for this quote one day. Rapping is the art and engineering of language divided by math. All right. As an educator, hopefully I just hit a whole bunch of keywords for you. All right.
Say that one more time.
Rapping is the art and engineering of language divided by math.
There you go.
Any rapper you ever hear is doing all those things at once, if they're aware of it or not.
Nice.
And so that's what I'm breaking down for your students and teaching them all those different things as they're writing raps about how great they
are. Not just your students, but you're the teacher.
Yes, the teacher. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Let it go over your head, man.
Indeed. So he has it for you. Trust me. Not only Baba Got Bars, but also go to poetlifeacademy.org. We are partnering with Bomani Ahmad to where he will be our curriculum director for Poet Life Academy. We're super excited about it. We are in the process of reaching out to school systems, schools, churches, organizations, and using words to help kids express themselves. And it's the perfect timing right now with 2 pandemics going on. That's a whole new episode too. So you know what I'm talking about. All right. So listen, J. Ryder, you got something before I let him go?
No, I'm good, man. Great episode, man.
Definitely. It's the Poet Life Podcast. Go to thepoetlife.com. Also go to babagotbars.com as well. It's the Poet Life Podcast. Thank you all for indulging us, man. And just go out there and pursue your passion, whatever that passion might be. Know that you can make it out into a career. Trust me when I tell you. Just keep watching. We're going to show you. We're going to bring people on that are doing it. All right, that'll inspire you and motivate you to pursue your passion. It's the Poet Life Podcast, and we're out.
Introducing the Poet Life Podcast. Go check it out today on your favorite platforms, including iTunes, Apple Music, and the website, thepoetlife.com.
Find a way, find a way. Ain't get no time now. You in the way, I'm doing fine now. Out of my business. Find a way, find a way.